Welcome. I am author D.M. Patterson, and in this video, I am going to talk about tips on how to help your doctor's visit be more successful. I know I haven't been uploading a lot on this channel. It is my intention to, but I don't always have the time and energy because I am dealing with some health issues. From that came an idea to do a video to talk about some of the lessons I've learned about how to have a more beneficial doctor's visit. I know this doesn't really have anything to do with writing necessarily, but I am doing some writing on the side, talking about my journey and helping myself get through this health journey. But for today's video, this was something that came to me a while back when I was talking about tips on how to help somebody else go to a doctor's appointment. And it was something that I had started doing very early on. And it was a brand new concept for this person. And I don't know, it made me think, you know what? I've been through a lot of doctor's visits. I've learned some things here and there. And even though it doesn't have anything to do necessarily with writing, I wanted to put together a list of ideas and things that I've learned to have a more beneficial doctor's appointment. I have published this list on my blog, so you can open up my blog. The link is below and follow along if you'd like. You can consult the log later if you'd like. This is not an all-inclusive, end-all, be-all list of ideas. Of course, some things are going to work, some things are not, and you may have thought of something that I have not. I just wanted to put this video together as a way to help somebody who may be going through something similar to what I have been going through. First and foremost, before you go into the appointment, you need to set aside the frustration and the anger and all of the built-up tension against the health system, against doctors in general, against medicine, the things that are going on. Unfortunately, there are times when that frustration can cloud the ability to communicate thoroughly and the ability to have empathy for the other person who would be the doctor who is coming into the appointment with their schedules full to the max. They're not allowed time with their patient. Potentially they're dealing with their own family emergencies, things like that, but they still need to come into work. There's a lot of background frustration and tension that happens even before you go into the doctor's visit. So I highly encourage you, try to set all of that aside, try to meditate, clear all of that from your mind. The first thing on my list is to write down all of your medications, your supplements. Sometimes when you sign into a MyChart for an appointment, they will say to update your medications and you can go through all of that there. But I don't know how many times I have gone through all of the medications only to have the nurse to have to go through all of them again when I am in the appointment. And because I didn't write anything down, I don't remember anything that I put in there. If you have a list with you of what exactly you take, again, even supplements, some kinds of multivitamins and some supplements can have some kind of effects with other things. So that is why it's important even to write down things like multivitamins, write down how often you take them and write down why. And have that with you, typed out with you, just in case, even if you have updated your MyChart. Number 2 is to write down all of your symptoms. And the reason why I say to have this written out and with you physically, as well as the medical list, is because I have also updated all of those paperwork, all of the sheets and everything that I've been given, for a prior visit or something, and still have been asked what they are. I don't know why. I'm sure it's some kind of administrative something, but just be prepared to answer those questions again in person and have it all written down physically in front of you, because then you are not spending time trying to remember that weird symptom that happened that one time that you can't remember what it was. Number 3 is to write down all of your questions. And I do highly recommend that you start writing and recording your thoughts, the items that you want to bring up for this doctor's visit, the questions, your observations, several days before the appointment if you can. Now, I do know sometimes appointments can be scheduled for the next day or something like that. If you don't have the time, you don't have the time. But if you do have, say, a week or so before your appointment, I would begin thoroughly focusing on the questions that you need to be asking, whatever observations you have to bring up several days before that appointment, and start recording them all along with everything else that you're going to bring in with the doctor with you. Number 4 is, while you are thinking about all of these symptoms and the questions that you have, also be trying to think of a timeline of when these symptoms occurred. We are asked many times, when did you notice this happening? When did you first start noticing this happening? Often in the middle of an appointment, it is hard to remember specific timelines. You may think in the spur of the moment, in the stress of an appointment, that your symptoms started 1 month ago, but after a while, after you've had more time to think about it, you realize it's actually been happening for 2 months. This again is why I highly encourage you to start thinking of all these things several days before your appointment, thinking about things that you know that they will ask you, like your medications, your symptoms, what questions do you have, when did this all start. Allowing yourself time to think about these things before you are actually in the appointment will give you that ability to record these things when you're not stressed and trying to figure these things out and answer these questions while you're already stressed and feeling like you're taking up the doctor's time. Number 5 is to also write down all of the current doctors that you are seeing and why. And this was a surprise to me. I went to a doctor for the first time and he was getting my history, and I thought that I had all of the information that he needed, and he hit me with, what other doctors are you seeing and why? It's hard again in the moment to recall things like this. So, and I was not expecting a doctor to ask me what other doctors I was seeing and why. So I'm going to put that out there for you to have it. And if you don't need it, great. Number 6 kind of goes along with number 5. Bring records of any other doctor visits that you have had, where those records will speak to what you are seeing this doctor for. And I do know that in this age of technology, we have MyCharts, and I even have the ability with MyChart to link other MyCharts to it, so that people that aren't even in the same affiliation can see my chart from another affiliation, which does work really well when it's working. But there are times when some affiliations can't open other affiliations' MyCharts. There are times when the MyChart doesn't work. My recommendation for you is, if you have had some findings that you want to bring up for this appointment, to have a physical copy of those records printed out so that you can just hand it to the doctor. Number 7 is to remember that you always have the option to record your appointment. However, do tell the doctor that this is something that you would like to do. Recording an appointment is beneficial in being able to go home and then go back and listen to what the doctor was saying in a more calm state, after you've had some time to digest some things and to make sure that you didn't miss something. It's not something that I have used yet, but I know of a few people who do record their appointments because they feel it's a better way for them to make sure that they have all the information they need. Just remember that you communicate with the doctor and tell them, I need to record this appointment because I want to be able to use it as something to look back on when I'm at home. Number 8 is, if you have the option to bring somebody with you, it doesn't always have to be a family member. It can be a good friend. Sometimes just having somebody else in the appointment with you can help you stay calm. It can help you with feeling overwhelmed if somebody else is there listening, recording, or maybe writing, taking notes if somebody else is asking questions, or if you just have a supporting presence there. You do have the option too, if the person cannot physically be there in the appointment with you, to call somebody, which I have actually done before. Pretty much anytime you try telling the doctor that you want to have some ability to record or have somebody with you or have somebody else listening so that you can make sure you're covering all the bases, they're not going to tell you no. You just need to communicate with them that you are trying to do your best to make sure that you have something there to fall back on. Number 9 is a repeat of what I said earlier, is to be patient with yourself and be patient with the doctor. There are so many things that go on behind the scenes that bring the frustration and stress into the appointment. But try Try the best you can in the moment while you're in the appointment with them, to be present and to be patient with yourself as well. I mean, you may not always have everything with you. You may not be as prepared as you thought you were. You may not really know how to answer the questions, but be patient with yourself. And just remember that the doctor is trying to do what they can to. They've got administration breathing down their backs. They have issues with insurance, denying them things that they need. Try to be patient, both with yourself and the doctor. It may take time, but hopefully with these tips that I'm trying to give you and anything that you learn along the way that you would like to share with us as well, hopefully that will start bringing a more productive atmosphere to the appointment and get you on a road to recovery faster. Number 10 is easier said than done, and that is try your best to communicate with the doctor as much as you can. If you are starting to feel overwhelmed, if you are starting to feel very frustrated by what they're saying, if what they're saying doesn't make sense, instead of bottling that up and taking the frustration home and not really knowing how to move forward with the doctor, try in a very respectful way to say during the appointment, I don't really understand what you're saying, or, it's really frustrating that I'm here at this appointment and you don't know what's going on. Can we continue to work towards some kind of goal? Even if you want to bring up to them, in a way, you do want to try to be respectful, at least at first. I know there's an exception to everything. I always try to assume the best, and it could be that the doctor is very overwhelmed themselves. They've gone through a lot of patients, and they don't realize how they're coming across. They may not realize that they're making you feel uncomfortable or frustrated by what they're saying. And I do think that saying a quick, can we back up here? Can we switch modes, or whatever it is that you feel comfortable saying, will help the appointment move forward. Number 11 goes back to preparing for the appointment, and that is ask others around you for their observations and questions. And again, as early as you can start these questions, the better, because it gives others time to think of the questions that they believe they need you to ask or observations. For example, when I go to my neurologist, I ask my husband, who is somebody who observes me far more than anybody else does, have you seen something recently that I need to bring up? Do you have any questions that I haven't thought of? Do you have any symptoms? Have you seen something that I'm doing that I'm not even potentially aware of myself? And this will help the doctor have a more rounded view of what is going on. And believe it or not, that kind of insight can actually provide a lot of information as to what could potentially be going on. So don't be afraid to reach out to those around you who have been observing you and ask them, what have you seen? Number 12 is for back in the appointment. Consider what the doctor is giving you for options, and don't be afraid to ask questions. An example of that is right after I had my miscarriage, I had continued pain, and I knew that I wasn't supposed to have continued pain. But for a while after, when I would go to doctors, they would just prescribe me antidepressants. And as a way of trying to consider the options that they were giving me, I would say, okay, but why are you prescribing this to me? Unfortunately, at the very beginning, it was because they just thought that I was not handling my miscarriage well. And I was then able to come back and say, I am in grief therapy. I think I'm doing very well mentally. I'm doing what I can with my emotions and my psychological state, but I am in physical pain, and I don't think that the antidepressants are going to help with my physical pain, which has been continuing on these past months, and I really don't appreciate you just trying to give me antidepressants. On the flip side of that, I eventually ended up with another OBGYN who offered antidepressants as a way to help with nerve pain. And I fought her at first, and I was very upset at her for bringing up antidepressants. And she was able to, because I was opening up and telling her why I didn't want to take antidepressants, she was able to understand my reticence against it, and she was able to explain to me, yes, I think I understand what you're saying, but this is also used in treatment for nerve pain, and you are talking about having nerve pain. This is something that we should start with. Number 13 is alongside number 12, in that if the doctor suggests physical therapy, I highly recommend you doing the physical therapy. I know not everyone is a fan of physical therapy. I used to be really upset about that suggestion myself, but I have learned that physical therapy can be extremely helpful, and that is definitely something, if the doctor is suggesting you do, you should try. And then along the way, journal about how physical therapy is going, what they did that triggered certain kinds of pain, things like that, because even that in and of itself, the way you respond to physical therapy is an answer for the doctor. So just trust the process and give it a shot. Number 14 is another repetition of kind of the be patient. Do realize that the doctor may need some time to sort out what's going on. I had to remind myself of that a lot. I have to deal with my pain, with my health issues, with my frustrations every day, and I live with it. But my doctor only sees me about 15 minutes every, so often. They are not thinking about me 24/7. They are not experiencing what I'm experiencing, and they have other patients that they are also trying to help. It is very difficult when finding an answer drags out for weeks, for months, for years. But hopefully with these tips and with other things that you may learn along the way, gathering the information outside of the doctor's visit, so that when the appointment is here, it is very beneficial and helpful for both of you. Hopefully that will speed up the process. Number 15 comes with a warning, and that is because I do encourage research, but I say that very cautiously and with a huge warning to be very careful, because we all know that doing our own research can put a lot of very scary ideas in our mind. Been there. I've definitely done that. Even now, when with the My Charts, when you see the test results coming in before the doctor sees it, sometimes that can just, you get online and you start trying to look through that test result, and you're spiraled, and there's just there's no coming back. If you are going to research, I highly recommend that you stick with medical journals. Sometimes I know with my VCU, My Chart, they even have medical information that you can look through. Just pay attention to your mental health as you're doing this, and if you are becoming overwhelmed and overly anxious, it's probably a good sign to set it aside and move on to something else. Number 16 is something that I learned, and this is coming back to after the visit. If you were not able to have a friend with you or take notes during the visit, or you didn't feel comfortable recording it, if you have the My Chart set up, they always have the after note visits. I highly recommend you going in there and reading them. I have multiple times gone through the after note visits and picked up on something that I completely forgot about as soon as I left. Number 17 is one of the hardest lessons that I had to learn, and that is go to the follow-up visits. When I was first starting to deal with all of my health issues, and I would go to a doctor, and I would feel like the visit we got nowhere. There were no answers. I felt even more frustrated and confused than when I went in, and then the doctor would say, follow up in 6 weeks or whatever time frame. I used to not go to those visits. The importance of those follow-up visits is, one, it keeps you on the schedule to see the doctor, and two, it allows you to have that time in between the appointments to come up with more information, more observations to bring to the next doctor's appointment. Again, if the doctor has given you suggestions like medications or like physical therapy or perhaps a change in diet, it gives you the time to try it. Those things, those suggestions, and how your body responds to those suggestions are answers. Which brings me to my second to last point, and that is don't be afraid to switch doctors. And I know, because I've been there. Insurance and also the doctor's office that itself, they can make it difficult for you to change doctors. And I don't know why. It's really frustrating that they do that. But if you are feeling very uncomfortable and like you really are not getting anywhere with a doctor, then be an advocate for yourself, stand up for yourself, and do what you can. Talk to whoever you need to talk to get a different doctor. It makes a world of a difference. And at the end of the day, who you are seeing and if you are comfortable with that person is far more important than making another doctor mad. The last point I would like to make is insurance is not always your enemy. There are advocates in some insurances. I don't know about all of them, but at least some of the major ones. You can call your insurance company and ask for a health advocate. And this health advocate will help you find doctors that are in network. They will help you get imaging and tests done in certain locations where it's not as expensive. They will help get you into appointments. They are there to help you. I don't know how widely known this is. I certainly did not know that there was any such thing as a health advocate until about a year ago. I understand that insurance can be a huge headache and part of what is very frustrating with the healthcare system that we have, but if you call them and ask for a health advocate, you've got them on your side and you've got somebody who is going to help you through this and give you the information that you need to use your insurance to the best advantage. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope some of these tips are helpful for your next appointment. If you have other ideas and things that helped you, please comment down below. I would love to hear some more ideas on how to get an appointment to be the most beneficial for both you and the doctor. Or if you have any other insurance ideas and helping wade through the headache that is insurance, please comment down below. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for your patience. I know I'm not uploading as much as I want to. My next video I am already planning, and it is going to be something that I wrote. So I hope I will see you then.